I can't believe it. Only 9 spots left in my Job Search Jumpstart Masterclass. 9 people. This is a live 5-day, 1 hour a day masterclass to give you everything you need to accelerate your job search. Grab your spot now before it's too late. The link is in the show notes.
The best decisions are not just made from logic. They are made from an inner knowing. Okay. And that inner knowing is not always going to be your ego or fear-based. It is this other thing inside of you, this inner knowing. I call it your intuition. And we have been conditioned to ignore it. The secret sauce is starting to pay attention to that inner knowing, to that intuition, instead of always playing by the rules. If you are somebody who is looking to soar, who is looking to be in the limitless space, that is where intuition plays.
Welcome to Work Unscripted. I'm your host, Marlo Lyons. I'm here to toss aside the corporate scripts for unfiltered truths. We are tackling real work challenges with no sugarcoating, providing you with the strategies to thrive and find fulfillment in your career. It's time to turn the page. It's time to be unscripted. Today's conversation is all about that quiet voice inside you, the one that nudges you in a direction you didn't expect, but deep down, you know it's right. We're talking about intuition, what it is, how to tell the difference between fear and your inner knowing, and how to use it to make powerful decisions in both your career and your life. And there is no better person to walk us through this than Wendy Sterling. Wendy is a speaker, intuitive prosperity mentor, and someone I've had the pleasure of knowing for a long time. I've watched her change her entire life, leaving a 20-year corporate career, launching her own business, and doing it all by listening to her intuition. She's not just here to talk about trusting your gut, she's here to show us how to live it. So if you've ever felt stuck between logic and a gut feeling, or like you're constantly doing what you should do instead of what you want to do, this episode is your invitation to pause, reflect, and start leading from within. Let's dive in. Hi, Wendy. Welcome to Work Unscripted.
Hi, Marlo. I'm so excited to be here, and congrats on your podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you because I have known you an awful long time, and I've watched you change your entire life when you started to trust your intuition. And so I'm so excited to talk about intuition today, and you're the expert in this. So I'm just going to ask the very basic first question because I don't think anybody understands what this is. What is intuition?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you know, to be honest, I think each of us might define it a little bit differently. So I'll try to speak into it from as generic as I can. You know, intuition is really, it's a feeling, and it is a calm but firm, intuitive, just nudge. Some people describe it as a poke. I call it a little bit as a nudge. But your intuition is really just, it is your subconscious that is speaking through you, and always has your highest and best interest in mind. The volume of it tends to be a little quieter than we're used to. But it's like all of a sudden you just have this thought or you have this feeling and you're like, wait, where did that come from? Right? It doesn't have backup information necessarily. It's not seeking anything. It's just coming in as a very calm, direct hit. And that's what intuition is. And I find that sometimes talking about it in relation to fear is really helpful too, because what intuition is not is everything that fear is, right? Fear is all about it's chaos. It feels heavy. It's loud. It is anxiety ridden, and it just flies in, and it's like pulling evidence from everywhere. Oh, remember that time? Oh, don't do that. Oh God, remember the last time you tried to do this? And so you can even just feel the energy difference between the two is so different. And what I find, and what I know I'm guilty of so many times, is we get the intuitive hit, we get intuition coming in, and we kind of are like, wait, what did it just say? And then fear rears its ugly head. And then we're like, oh yeah, that feels comfortable. Let's go with the fear. And so a lot of what I've mastered myself is following the breadcrumbs, right? Taking the baby steps to start leaning in, listening to, trusting, and using my intuition, because it is what is going to serve you in your highest and best. But it's what a lot of people are nervous about because it's the opposite of the way that we tend to function.
So you started tuning into your intuition, you said, and you took baby steps to do that. Like, how did you do that?
Well, it all started way back about 8.5 years ago when I discovered that my now ex-husband was having an affair. And it took me feeling this nudge coming in that night when, his colleague called him, and I got this nudge of like, something isn't kosher here. And I remember hearing this little voice, and I was like, okay, I'm going to sit with this for a second. And I kept sitting with it. And my intuition kept talking to me. I didn't fly off the handle or anything to that effect, but it kept poking at me. And finally, I took a stand in my intuition and realized that, yes, my worst fear was coming true. And it was time for me to not only start living life for myself, but it was time for me to start living my life trusting myself and trusting that voice within, instead of listening to the outside world. And what sort of began as this pivotal transitional moment of my life snowballed into how I've been able to not only, choose to leave my marriage, left a 20-year corporate career, started my first entrepreneurial business that hit 7 figures. I'm now in a multi-6-figure business as a secondary business. But every single step that I have taken all comes back to that moment of intuition where I allowed it to start leading me from a decision-making perspective. And I will tell you that, I get asked this question all the time too, which is that, oh, I don't have intuition. Oh, lucky you. It's so great that you have that. And here's the truth. We all have intuition. We all have access to our intuition. I call it my intuition. And it is not the same as, it is not psychic ability. It is intuition is really it is your subconscious leading you from a place of what is in your highest and best. And so we all have the ability to tap into it. And one of the things that I love teaching is how each and every one of us can tap into our own intuition, because it's going to sound and feel different to each and every one of us. So it's about learning what works for you, how it is that it's going to work for you, because that was something that was really hard for me, right? I'm all about like body over mind all the way, but it's not. It's we are taught mind over body, but it's the other way around. It's body over mind. And so what it really took for me was something really hard as a type A controlling human being who is a recovering people pleaser and perfectionist, is to slow down, right? To slow down and to listen to these voices, to take a breath, to ask for more time, to, go inward and be thoughtful and really think about what it is that is in my highest and best, instead of always defaulting to the hustle culture, defaulting into being on the hamster wheel and perpetuating things that no longer served me at the time. And it has made all the difference. It is exactly what I attribute my success to, is once I started leading and allowing my intuition to build my businesses.
And I think that's what most professionals do, right? They're busy. They like to be busy. I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. If you ask people, how are you? They say busy. Busy is not a state of being, right? And so I question, like, how many people just don't listen to their gut, right? Because intuition is kind of like a gut thing. Like you said, it could be different for every person, but like, how do you just start to listen to it or strengthen it when you're in this busy corporate setting?
It honestly, it starts with the pause. I mean, that is exactly how I teach it. It's really starting to get in touch with and to start seeing that you have power over your own thoughts. We think that fear is our voice, and it's actually not. Fear is our ego, and our ego is not us. And so what I would say to somebody listening is to take that pause, to have the awareness and to start learning the difference between what is their ego, which is not them, it's fear, versus what is their true voice, which really is their intuition. And I think I think we have a fear in saying, I need more time, or, let me think about that, because we think that the other person is going to think less of us, right? We live in this reactive state all the time. And so if you're somebody who wants to choose to respond instead of react, what I would invite you to do is to really just take a breath and just start paying attention to your thoughts. You have power over your thoughts, and you have the power to shift them at any given time. And I think that was something that was so hard for me, Marlo, was really just trying to figure out, really it was more gifting myself permission to say, you know what, I'm going to get back to you on that. Or, you know what, I need 24 hours to think about that. Or, that's a really good point. I'm going to take that into consideration and I'll come back to you. I feel like we have this need to please. We have this need for perfection. We have this need to want to check stuff off of our list, right? Check, 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 check. I do not do checklists anymore. I cannot handle to-do lists anymore because they make me feel worse. And so, because again, we focus on what we haven't done instead of all the things that we do actually accomplish on a daily basis, which is pretty amazing. And we don't give ourselves enough credit for. So anyways, back to the steps, but it's the awareness and starting to understand and to listen to yourself of what is it that my mind is saying, coming back and getting control over your thoughts and standing in your power of knowing at any given point, you can take back, you can shift that perspective. I know you and I trained in the same coaching program, right? There's a methodology of coaching that you and I have both learned where we try to open our clients up to different perspectives that they can have about the same situation. But what our ego and our fear does is it literally creates tunnel vision for us where these other perspectives do not exist. And our intuition is what plays in the gray, let's call it, right? It plays outside of the tunnel vision. And that's what I invite people to slow down, to take the blinders off and to start considering what some of these other perspectives are, because the one that your intuition is telling you, it is in your highest and best. And while it may not have the evidence, a higher power knows that it is going to produce way better and way more than you ever thought you could.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I always tell people is the universe has your back. What is the learning in this? There is learning in everything. Right? And if there's learning in everything, then there's also learning when you're not listening to your intuition, because there's learning in that too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how many times have you not listened to your intuition? You're like, oh, shoot, I should have listened to that voice.
Absolutely. A million times. Right? I can think of something really stupid, even like saying we should leave at a certain time to get somewhere on time. And my husband's like, no, we'll be fine. And I'm like, no, we should leave on time. We need to leave at this time. No, we'll be fine. And sure enough, we were late. And I knew we should have left on time. And that's a silly thing, but those are the little things you tune into first, and then the bigger things come, right?
Well, exactly. And that's what I always say. It's start listening to your intuition as it plays a role in what are you going to have for lunch today? Your intuition's like, oh, you really want a burger. And then your head goes, you should have a salad, no carbs, it's fattening, you're trying to lose weight. Right. And listen, I'm not saying go have a burger if, you're not supposed to eat a burger, but I'm just saying starting with baby steps and starting with, the lesser big decisions, right? Because I think that's what paralyzes so many people is they're like, oh, I've got this big decision I have to make. And how do I rely on my intuition when I've got this big decision to make? And I'm not saying to do that if it's uncomfortable for you. I'm saying start small and start playing with it and then start entertaining this other decision that you have to make and start asking. I'm not a big meditation girl. If I meditate, I can't meditate for more than 5 to 8 minutes. That is just as much time as I can give myself. And it is a ton of time for me where I'm able to just really tap in and to start hearing my voice, quieting those limiting beliefs, quieting those, those saboteurs, those gremlins, whatever you want to call them, that rear their ugly head. But it's in those baby steps. You can't go from A to Z. You've got to go from A to B, B to C, C to D. And that's all I'm asking for you guys to start doing as it relates to your intuition. I mean, it could even be walk in your closet and you're deciding what to wear. My intuition wanted to wear this sweater today. And I was like, oh, but you're on camera. You should wear your teal and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, no, I'm going to wear the sweater because it's cute and I want to wear a sweater today. Right? So it's in these
something simple.
Yeah, and does it matter? Does it matter that I'm in a gray sweater and not a teal blouse? Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody's worrying about it. No. It's amazing how many things and how many limiting beliefs, and we don't even know they are limiting beliefs half the time, right? It's just this negative talk track that we have in our heads, in the office, out of the office, it just constantly. And you have to let go of that in some way to let the intuition come in. It's kind of like there's only so much room in your body. Somebody once said to me, don't let so-and-so, it was something that was bothering me about a person, don't let so-and-so take up free rent in your head. I was like, ooh, yeah, right? Like, don't let those limiting beliefs take up that free rent, because otherwise your intuition doesn't have any room.
No, it really doesn't. It's another quote that comes to mind that makes me think of that too, that I say a lot is, other people's opinions are none of your business. I think Rachel Hollis, came up with
Great
that
quote.
one. Right. But it's the same thing. It's like you're letting people's thoughts and beliefs live rent free in your head, and you're actually giving them power. And, for anybody out there who, has is used to being a people pleaser, or is used to using, accolades as past evidence of success. Like past success is not indicative of future ability. It really isn't. I mean, I can sit here and tell you, every award I've won, every certification I have, every degree that I have gotten. And at the end of the day, that has nothing to do with the path that I'm on. I mean, I'm an intuitive business coach. Like, I didn't get here because I took an intuition class. I didn't get here because, and so I think that what people get to separate themselves from, and I think is especially hard, in corporate and also in business, is, well, but what's the data? Where's the analysis, right? And there's just pieces to that which still stand true. I love data. I'm a research girl. I love reading. I'm like, I'll soak it all in. And there's this other element that we don't give enough importance to that I think is such a game changer for those of us who use it and allow it to lead.
So you must have some kind of breakthrough that you've had where intuition has led to that breakthrough. So give me an example.
I mean, there's so many, but I'll start with, probably my most recent one. I mean, when I met you, I mean, I've known you for a very long time. And, for everyone listening, Marlo is truly the reason I am a coach today. It was a 3-hour call that she had with me. And, that was another thing, right? Like when the universe handed me your Facebook post where you made this announcement that you were entering into this new field, right? And my intuition said, you need to reach out to her. You need to call her. And I listened. I was like, okay, so I'm going to listen. And I'm, and here I am 8 years later, standing here being able to help as many women as I have. And I built a 7-figure business. I'm in a multi-6-figure business currently. And that was like, because of you. Another moment was, some people who know me and have followed my story. I was in Lahaina during the Lahaina fire, literally drove through the fire. And the month before that, I was struggling with the loss of my mother. I was struggling with, do I stay in this divorce coaching business that is no longer exciting to me and it's weighing me down? And we literally drove through the fire. And as we were driving through the fire that was crossing the freeway, I literally heard this voice come in and say, it's time to burn it down. And I was like, crystal clear as day. I was like, okay, who burns down and closes a 7-figure business? Well, this girl did.
Just got chills. Wow.
So that was the next part. And in that moment, I was like, I was very certain. Yes. Part of me was like, what the heck am I going to do now? And then I went into trust. And within 2 months, I had built a brand new business coaching, business, hit 6 figures in 6 weeks after making the announcement and pivoting my business. And, it's just been one thing after another, right? Last year, I was going through a lot of different identity crises. My oldest was going to college. I was having relationship issues. I had a stepson that I had a complicated relationship with, and all these things were coming to a head again. And I finally went, you know what? I got to step back because I got to figure out like, what is going on? What am I supposed to do? And in October, I got this download for the unapologetic woman. I was like, what the heck is that? But man, that gives me chills. And what is this supposed to be? And what is this idea? And I got all in my head, fear. What is it? What's the how? Nope, take a step back. My intuition said, it's going to come. Just be patient. And a month later, guess what came in? The entire download for what this platform, this brand, this mastermind, this movement was supposed to be. And here I am, high ticket mastermind launch, one sale away from a 6-figure, mastermind launch in under 2 months again. So I'm telling you, there is power when you give yourself the gift of the pause, right? My podcast, which Marlo has been on, there is so much power in the pause. And what we're always trying to do is we're trying to rush through life. We're trying to get money. We're trying to get results. We're trying to get the next raise and the next job opportunity and the bigger title. And it's like, whoo, I'm exhausted even just saying those things. And there's so much more power. I always say the path through, the fastest path through is going down the middle, one foot in front of the other. It is not running. It is not leaping. It is literally putting one foot slowly in front of the other. That is the fastest way, because if you miss what's around you, you're actually slowing yourself down. So if you don't pay attention to what is around you and you don't enjoy the journey, it's actually going to take you that much longer. And literally, I have evidence of that every which way to Sunday as I've gotten to where I am today, almost a decade later as an entrepreneur.
Do you think, Wendy, that it's imposter syndrome really that plagues high achievers, that they're working so hard to try to prove something to themselves, to someone else, to the world? And how can they use this intuition to really overcome that self-doubt in their career?
Yeah, it's so funny because I had this conversation with a woman just this morning, actually, all about her own imposter syndrome that she's struggling with right now. And it is 100% imposter syndrome, right? I'm a high achiever. You're a high achiever. All of the women that I coach are high achieving women who have all of this evidence of all these accolades of things that they have done. And the way that I was talking to this woman this morning and the way that I describe it is that, we put ourselves kind of in this box of I did ad sales. I was an expert in marketing and I did sales and I worked for a fashion magazine and a fashion brand, excuse me. And I put myself in this box. And that's what imposter syndrome does, is it forces you into a box. And at the time, I'm like, an entrepreneur? What the heck? I have no degree in entrepreneurship, right? But when I got myself outside of the box, all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a second. I built multi-million-dollar regions from nothing. There were no businesses. There were no conversations. There were no clients. I'm like, I've got the resume and I've got the contacts. And I'm like, okay, well, I've built multi-million-dollar regions. I have managed teams. I have inspired my team to step into their own leadership. I have gifted them with the skills of how to step into their leadership. I'm like, of course I'm an entrepreneur. Why am I putting myself in this corporate box? And so the imposter syndrome plays such a huge role because it's trying to keep us safe, right? Understand that there is a difference between keeping us safe when it's a fight or flight, when it's there's a fire on the freeway, you should probably get out of here. Listen to that voice, right?
Right.
But when it comes to, should I make a career shift? Should I, leave corporate behind and jump into leave my paycheck and make no money and jump in? I'm not going to be the one who's going to stand here and tell you yes or no. But what I am going to help you do is to get out of your imposter syndrome way and start thinking about things from a level of intuition, not from strategies or tactics. Great. Go find one. It's going to work for you no matter what, but it's not going to work for you if you don't get in control of your mindset, right? So for a long time, I played by the rules, right? And I think so many people listening are like, but I've done everything right. And, but then every time I try to take a different step, it's like, what do you think you're doing, right? What do you think that you're going to be shifting into? What is it that you think that you can do differently? And if you don't have the tools to be able to talk yourself out of the box and to start seeing that, wait a second, I'm reaching my next ceiling and it's time for me to go through that ceiling. What is important for you to get a handle of is, what are the facts, right? What are the facts that you have that are actually tangible, right? I could sit here and say to myself, you're not an entrepreneur. The voice was telling me you're not an entrepreneur. Why am I not an entrepreneur, right? What is the definition of an entrepreneur? Because I can tell you that I'm an entrepreneur, right? Who is going to sit here and tell me, what do you know about divorce coaching? Well, I went through one. It was pretty awful. And I have a lot of personal experience. And I've already walked the path that others have. Like, I think that so many of us high achievers think that we have to have everything solved. We have to have the degree. We have to have the certification. We have to have everything ironed out. We have to have all the modules, all the webinars, all the this and the that. Guys, like, here's a truth bomb moment. You only need to be one step ahead of your ideal client for you to be able to do anything to help anybody. That's it. One step. Okay. And if you need to feel better than that, okay, 2 steps. Be 2 steps ahead of your ideal client, right? You don't have to have like everything baked out. Your ideal client, your dream career, you just need to have enough where you can lead somebody and you trust in yourself that you know how you're going to get them there. Because when have you ever bet on yourself and lost? I'm going to guess never. I don't know about you. I have never failed at anything that I have bet myself on. I may have learned some ways not to do things, but I do not consider anything that I've ever done a failure. I learned something new. Exactly.
It's all learning. Everything's learning. Do you think this has to do with redefining success then? Because success in society and in corporate, right, is one thing, right? There's these corporate expectations. Society has expectations on what success is. And I think we have to kind of let that go. Like, that has to just be not in our brain in order to tap into that intuition of what is success for us.
Well, I agree. And I think that it starts with releasing the need for external validation, right? And I think that in order for us to redefine what success is, we've got to release our attachment to ways in which we've received validation externally previously, right? It's about trusting what it is that you already know. You know, I know that I have built multiple businesses. I know that anytime I put my heart into anything, that I always see it through and I always exceed my expectations. And so for me, when I talk about, I actually don't love the word success, to be honest with you, because to me, it feels like it feels almost like it's something that's unattainable. It's really about leading with vision. It is about feeling that there is, you know, again, I was talking about this earlier today. It's like, you can go out there and you can say like, oh, I got my CMO title and off I go. Like, I checked that box. But like, how fulfilled are you at the end of the day? As a CMO, are you living into the vision of the brand that you're a CMO of, or are you just there for a paycheck, right? And so I think that success, if people like that word or not, like, it gets to be defined based on a feeling. I'm all about sensations. I'm all about tapping into your body. And it's about knowing and trusting within, and knowing what that feels like within you, to then be able to use that kind of as like your checks and balance system for what it is that you're pursuing, or what it is that you're going after or building or entertaining if you're looking to pivot. But what I can tell you is that coming back home, coming back inside, ultimately is all that matters. Because, you know, the quote I said before, it's like, other people's opinions are none of your business. Like, if I listened to every opinion I had, I mean, you know, my dad thought I was crazy walking away from my divorce coaching business. He's like, what are you doing? Right? Generational thing too. But I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Like, I trust and I know within my body, I feel it. I'm not going to let his fear or his doubt creep into my life. And, you know, it comes to a place where I think, you know, a lot of us have to remove attachment to the things and instead come back in touch with ourselves, and to know and trust that we've got everything we need within us. And even if something doesn't, you know, I feel like success and failure are sort of like this black and white thing. And as I said before, like, failure isn't a thing. It is about learning how not to do something again. And to me, that's knowledge and information that I can pass on to somebody else. I don't see that as a failure. I'm like, oh, hey, I tried that, and let me tell you my experience. Like, and I just saved somebody from, like, you know, a month's worth of work or whatever it is. And so when you're able to really pivot out of the black and white and really own and step into the gray, you guys, the world actually the color comes from the gray. It does not come from the black and the white.
It's so true. And I feel like some people, when you said about letting go of things, it's not just letting go of material things. It's also letting go of everybody else's thoughts and opinions on your life, on your work, on everything you're doing. Like it really does. Everything comes from within. It really does. And people are so busy asking for everybody's opinions on what they want. And I find this mostly with like 18 to 25. Well, you probably see it everywhere, but 18 to 25, because they just left mom and dad's house, right? And so mom and dad have an opinion on what they should major in and what career they should do and what internships they should do or what they should do this summer. And you have to decide from internally, like, what is it that I want? Do you find that if people don't know what they want, that they swirl more versus just stopping and listening and the want will come? Like, how does that all come into play?
Yeah, I mean, I find that once you jump on that hamster wheel, like you can't get off. You just stay on there thinking that it's going to come to you. It's really about stepping off the hamster wheel and realizing that you can actually make a lot more traction by getting off of it than staying on top of it. I think a lot of us find it safer because we're like, oh, it's cozy and we know this and, oh, it'll come eventually. And I always say this to people. I'm always like, I'm sure at some point you'll figure it out, like maybe in 20 years, but you'll get there eventually, right? Or you can choose the path that feels uncomfortable, but is actually going to be the fastest one. And, I lead from a very, I have a ton of faith in a higher power. My mom has passed. I know she is one of my guardian angels and she guides me on a daily basis. And so I've really deepened my faith in and trust in knowing that I don't have all the answers, but I know that God does. I know that I'm being guided in a way that I really believe we are not here to fall down and stay down. We are here to get tripped. And it's about Brene Brown, right? It's about getting back up, right? We're here to learn
again. Yep.
Exactly. And so what I would invite people to start thinking about is what is the worst that could happen if you step out of your comfort zone? Really, what is the worst that's going to happen? You may make a mistake, or you may realize that you've been holding back from something that you're really good at, right? So I would invite you to start getting off the hamster wheel and start looking at things from a glass half empty and to stop defaulting that way, because that is what we are trying to do. And to bring in another point, Marlo, is I don't think social media is helpful either. That is not helping us, right?
No, because it distracts us, right? It stops us from actually doing the work, right? It's how we tune out.
Of course.
It's not tuning in, it's tuning out.
No, but yes, and it is also fake. I hate to break it to you all, and Marlo's my witness.
Oh, yeah.
How many perfect family pictures did you see of me and my ex-husband and my children? And then when you found out that we were separated and getting divorced, it was James and Wendy? What are you talking about? Yeah. Right?
I mean, and I worked with your ex-husband, so everything seemed great, right?
Right. Well, of course.
No clue. Yeah.
Neither did I, right? Except I did, right? But here's the thing is that people can use social media to concoct and make you believe and think whatever it is that they want. Anytime I see this perfect family picture, I'm like, BS. Because it's not reality, right? And granted, of course, you get some good pictures with the kids as they're older and things like that. But don't always believe everything that you see, because I bet that, you've had a point in your life where things have not necessarily been great, but you're out there talking about this great vacation that you went on and how much fun you guys had. But really, you were yelling at your kids half the time because they wouldn't listen, or they would run off, or they would, they miss curfew or whatever it is. So I would just invite everybody to, I'm not saying to not be open, and, I'm not saying that things that have worked in the past aren't going to work again moving forward. But what I am saying is just be open to the opportunity that perhaps there is a higher and better way for you, and to just take a step forward and just see what happens, and be present in the experience.
So I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate here for a second, right? I can hear people listening to this podcast and thinking to themselves, intuition, oh, that's so woo-woo, or that's so impractical in a business setting, or this is a highly structured environment. You guys aren't in corporate. You don't understand. And we both have worked in corporate for most of our careers. But like, what do you say to people who are just like, what is this intuition thing? And, that's just so woo woo. And I'm just not woo woo. I'm a direct, I'm a straight, I'm a serious person.
That's great. And I'm telling you that intuition, it's not a woo woo thing. Like it's not woo. Think of it as an internal compass, right? That those of us who have been successful using it, like here comes the word success again, but those of us who have used our intuition, we have evidence where it has proven that it works for us. I'm not saying it's going to work for everybody, but what I am telling you is that for myself and the thousands of women that I have coached over my career, it works pretty damn well for the rest of us, whether or not you're in corporate or whether you're in entrepreneurship. And here's why. The best decisions are not just made from logic. They are made from an inner knowing. Okay. And that inner knowing is not always going to be your ego or fear-based. It is this other thing inside of you, this inner knowing. I call it your intuition. And we have been conditioned to ignore it because those aren't the rules, right? I'm a disruptor. I am here to change the rules of the game. I am here to build my own table. And so what I can tell you is that the secret sauce is starting to pay attention to that inner knowing, to that intuition, instead of always playing by the rules, because playing by the rules is only going to get you so far. It is only going to carry you for so long. But what I can tell you is that if you are somebody who is looking to soar, who is looking to be in the limitless space, that is where intuition plays.
That's really interesting that you say that, because I can think of many times in the corporate world where I had to shrink myself. I was, too talkative, too loud, too something. I was too something, too much, too whatever. Super, you consider me to be, what people would consider to be successful. But I didn't want to shrink myself anymore, right? Like I was tired, and I didn't realize until after I left corporate how much I had shrunk myself. So I just kind of wonder, how can leaders, how can managers encourage this intuition-driven decision-making, right? You're talking about not giving up logic and balancing data, but like using intuition with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a good balance between the two, right? Like I see and I use facts and call it data. I like to call it facts. Like I like facts because facts are what are going to support me in using my intuition. I don't like pulling stuff out of thin air. There's a difference, right? Like I don't pull stuff out of thin air and make up all these hypothetical what ifs. That doesn't work for me either. Now, I'm not saying that these hypothetical what ifs aren't potentially something that could work really well for you. But what I can tell you is that there is a balance that gets to be used between the two, right? Like I love reading books. I love, educating myself in all these different areas. And because I have that knowledge, I'm actually able to use that in guiding me and helping me in the decisions that I'm making about my business. Now, of course, there's going to be times where you can't be like willy-nilly and like, oh yeah, I'm going to throw $100,000 at this and let's just see what happens, right? Like I don't do that. But what I do use my intuition for is, hey, is this supposed to be like a masterclass? Is this supposed to be a paid something? Am I feeling that this topic resonates with me, right? Like using your intuition as sort of a final check of the facts for yourself to understand, like, do I want to put my name on this? Do I want to bet the house on this, right? It's kind of like that. It's like the cherry on top. I sort of describe it as another mechanism for you to really just check in with yourself and make sure that like you really want to put your name on something, right? I'm not saying to just do it any given time. Like it's a practice and it's a dance. Like it is a dance, right? It's like sometimes, the facts are going to lead and sometimes the intuition is going to lead, but they need each other in order for this to work. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, but is there something like leaders and managers can do? Like if I'm a leader of a group, how do I tell them, yes, the data matters, yes, the facts matter, yes, the logic matters, but go ahead and go with your intuition as well. Like how do you do that? Like how do you, in the corporate setting, how do you encourage that?
So here's the thing, right? The whole thing about leadership is it's not just about strategy. It's not just about processes, right? Being a leader, it's about the people, right? And I know that the best leaders tend to be able to read between the lines, right? It's not always about what is actually being said or what isn't being said, right? It is about trusting in yourself. It's about trusting in your team. And so a leader who is leading with intuition is somebody who is going to lead people, to not get into a burnout situation, right? So like if you notice that your team is slowing down or there's, the camaraderie, the energy is not at the same level, well, perhaps that is a check-in for you. That is your intuition telling you, hey, I think my team is disengaged. I think that there's going to be tension showing up in performance, right? Your intuition is going to help you get at things before they become a bigger issue. So number one, I would say to start paying attention to the energy in the room, to start paying attention to the energy around your team and the output of work that is going out. I would also say that, leaders don't just see like what a person does well. They actually can feel into what they know somebody will thrive doing, right? I had a team and I remember like I could delegate and I did, but I delegated certain tasks to people that I knew that they would thrive in and that they would excel at and probably get done that much more quickly, right? So using your intuition to be like, hey, I'm not so good at this, but I think someone on my team is better at that. So I'm going to hand it off and it's going to have a greater output, right? That's another condition or a situation that I think that we can use our intuition, right? And, we also can use our intuition when we're hiring, we're thinking about new clients that we want to pitch, right? Tapping into like, that when you walk into a room, you can feel the energy. I was just I'm actually reading listening to Rachel Hollis's new book. And, she brought this up in the book, which is all about, when you walk into an elevator, you can tell if somebody's having a good or a bad day. They don't need to say anything to you, right? Yep. So how do you bring that? 100%. Yeah. And so how do you bring that into a call, into a presentation or a meeting, right? Like, and if something feels off, name it. Call it out. I'm not saying it as a stranger in an elevator, but like if you can feel the energy in your room or with a team, call it out. Be a leader, stand in your power and say, you know what? I'm sensing that something is off. Let's start the conversation. This is a safe place, right? Your intuition will also help you know when like somebody's holding back, or maybe you have a team member that you're feeling like, you know what, I feel like something's going on with them. Like I feel like they need extra support. So that's kind of how you start bringing that in. I'm not saying make major business decisions only using your intuition, right? But there's different ways that you can start leveraging it within your teams, within yourself, and also with the clients that you work with.
And are there some daily practices, Wendy, that like professionals can start doing that they can implement immediately to really start to tap into that intuition, especially when they're, working all day, coming home, dealing with the kids, got more work to do, like everything's just so busy all the time. Like, give me some steps. Like people like steps.
I like steps too.
I like steps too.
So, I mean, it really comes down to number one is gifting yourself with time and space to just be quiet, to just give yourself the gift of a pause and to start in that pause with small questions to start tapping into you want to play with your intuition. You can play with it at any given time, right? Last night, I was laying in bed and I was like, I really need to do stretches. Like I'm super sore. I'm like, I really need to do stretches. And, and then I'm like, oh, but I have to wash my hair and I have to do this. And like, all of a sudden, all these things start popping up, trying to talk me out of stretching. And I just got myself into a place, right? So when you notice that there's noise happening in your head and you're in this dialogue and you literally feel like you're like getting punched from the right, from the left, from the right, from the left, is to just give yourself like 30 seconds of breathing and just to take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it for 2, and then exhale through your mouth audibly and just let yourself go and say like, okay, what is in my highest and best right now? Like, what is best for me? And I was like, I really need to stretch. I can wash my hair in the morning. I was so sore last night. I like sitting down to pee was painful, right? I was like, I need to do this for myself, right? So gifting yourself with that time, allowing yourself to just have a minute. I don't care if you have young kids, you don't have kids in the house, you can find 30 seconds to breathe and to gift yourself with a choice when you're in that space. And then I invite you to take a step. Go stretch. Go take a bath. Go outside and put your feet in the ground, whatever it is. And it's in the grand scheme of things, you can make the time, right? Pausing and listening is something that we all can do and use for free. Time isn't real. It is a gift to yourself to gift yourself with that check-in and to take a step away from the phone and the kids and the husband and the dad and the mom and the neighbor, the boss, whatever it is. You have 30 seconds that you can do that. And ask yourself, because I do this with myself a lot too. It's like, okay, what do I know the truth to be? What are the facts here? The facts are I'm sore. The fact is that like it hurts to walk. That to me is pretty relevant. And so then based on the facts, it's like, okay, well, what do I want to do about it? I really need to stretch. I can give myself 10 minutes to go and stretch on the floor and work through these muscles so that I feel better in the morning, right? It could also be a business decision, right? Like I'm hiring a new VA and I am freaking out about this transition and who do I hire and who's the best hire? And I've talked to like 15 people and I literally just sat with myself and I was like, okay, what is it that I actually need? What are the facts? Because all these people can do all these amazing things, but like, what do I really need? And it came to me and it was like, it's like the Indiana Jones moment, right? It's like, what's the cup? It's not the fancy gold one. It's the carpenter cup, right? And I had my own Indiana Jones moment of, you know what? I just need the carpenter's cup. That's all I need. I don't need the gold with the jewels and all of this. Sure, it's pretty, but I just need the carpenter cup, right? And so that honestly it is that easy and simple, but it's really about, it's a practice and it's a commitment that you're making to yourself to start baby steps, practicing what this intuition thing is for you and see where it leads you and start gathering that as your evidence of how your intuition is actually going to support you.
And always go back to what is in the best interest of me, like what is going to make me my highest self today? What is going to be the thing that I need? It's not selfish. I love Ben Aldis on Peloton. He always says self-care is never selfish. And self-care sometimes is just stopping. It's just stopping and taking that moment. And it doesn't have to be some big thing. It doesn't even have to be the bath or the walk or whatever. It literally is just stopping.
That's it. It's the pause. And I mean, listen, I've moved meetings. I've canceled appointments because I'm like, you know what? I am not going to be in my highest and best. And like I'm like, oh, you're going to look so bad. You're going to piss them off. You're going to this, you're going to that. I'm like, I don't care because it's about me, right? It is about me showing up in my highest and best. And I'm not about to put somebody else's needs and desires ahead of my own. I used to do that. I did that for decades. I am not playing that game anymore. My game is about me because I have to be at my highest and best in order for me to even be there for anybody else, right? It's put your oxygen mask on first before you help your kids. It's that
absolutely
same strategy.
It's that same thing with alignment, right? Just being in alignment with yourself. And that's where the peace comes from, right? If you're just in alignment with your values, if you're in alignment with what you want, and if you know what you want, because you've taken the time to actually think about it, then everything falls into place. It's that simple. Wendy, this has been amazing. That's all I've got to say. I think it's been truly enlightening. I hope it helps people. I hope if anything, somebody listening to this, they just stop for a moment and they just try to tap into this because it's really powerful, super powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I love you so much.
I love you too. Where can people find you if they wanted to tune into their intuition a little bit deeper?
Well, I would first and foremost invite you guys to listen to my podcast, which is called The Power in the Pause. You can find that on any and all podcast platforms as well as YouTube. You can also find me across social media. My handle is at Wendy Page Sterling. You can also go to my website, wendypagesterling.com, and get access to all sorts of goodness and freebies and information about what I've got cooking and what I have coming up. And thank you, Marlo, for having me. And I'm super excited for your show. And I love seeing you thrive.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Work Unscripted. I hope we all have a little more courage to listen to that inner voice this week. Be sure to head to the show notes to connect with Wendy. And if this resonated with you, don't miss our upcoming episodes where we'll dive even deeper with actionable strategies to help you navigate your professional world unscripted. Work Unscripted is produced and edited in partnership with the team at Palm Tree Podco and 21 Digby. The content for this week's episode was created by me, Marlo Lyons.